How to overcome your fear of failure so you can start crushing your goals today. So, as a therapist, people from all walks of life come to me because they have a fear of failing. And this fear of failing keeps them from accomplishing the goals that they deeply, deeply want. So, sometimes I will have someone come to me and say, "Hey, coach, I know all about real estate. I read the books, took the courses, even joined the membership. But yet, I haven't bought my first property. I haven't taken that first action." I have other people who say, "Coach, man, I have all these business ideas. I have all these wonderful plans, but I haven't opened or started that LLC yet." People will come and say, "Coach, I have this amazing product that I know would change people's lives, but yet I haven't asked someone to buy it yet." And all these things have kept people from taking that first action. All these things have kept people from really accessing that dream that they have. And it's because they have this fear of failure. Now, this fear that they have, trust me when I say it is very normal. It is so normal that the people that you actually look up to, they have all had that fear. Let's face it, we're all human. And I have the luxury of being a therapist and hearing everybody's deepest, most secretest thoughts. And I can tell you that they all are pretty much the same. They all have this fear of doing this one thing, and on the outside, they project all this confidence, all this education, all this perfection, but deep down, they have this thing that they don't want anyone else to see. And then that thing that they're hiding, that thing that they're afraid of, is keeping them from being their true, authentic self. And it's that part of them that's really gonna allow them to access every goal, dream, value that they want. And again, that's why they come to me, and I wanna help you guys with this today. So when people come to me and say they have this fear of failure, I always stop and ask them, "Well, you having this fear of failure is stopping you from taking action, right?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Well, by not taking action, aren't you failing right now?" And they're like, "I never thought about it that way." And by failing right now, by not taking any action, where you are today is really the thing you should be afraid of. Because if you were to wake up 1 year from now and have made no progress towards this goal, wouldn't that be scary? Wouldn't that be upsetting or depressing? For me, it definitely would be. So it isn't the fear of failure that you should be worried about. It should be the fear of staying stuck. Staying in a place where you're not taking any action. That is really the true fear. And when I tell clients that, they become more open to taking that first step. Now, here's the thing with taking that first step, guys. I need you guys to actually change what you think success looks like starting out. Now, here's the thing. We're not changing the end goal. The end goal is going to stay the same. If your end goal is, "Hey, I want to have a property portfolio of $20 million, hey, let's keep that. If you want to have a dream of, let's say, having a platinum artist working for you under your label, let's keep that. If you have a dream of, let's say, having the #1 podcast on iTunes, Spotify, on YouTube, let's keep that." And on our journey, let's start to actually articulate what that first step, what that first taste of success should look like or should feel like. It's by doing that, we take some of that pressure off of ourselves. Now, again, fear of failing is something that people who are really great, people who have a lot of desire and passion will naturally have. Because here's the thing, there are a lot of people who actually don't have the fear of failure, and it's because they don't care about anything. There's actually this really neat exercise that I have my clients do where I have them on one side write something that they're afraid of, or even something that gives them pain or discomfort. And then on the back side of that, I have them write, what is that pain or that fear telling you that you deeply care about? So I'll give you an example. For me, I have a fear of not helping people. I have a fear of just simply motivating people and not changing their lives. And on the backside of that, I had to write what the value was. And the value is helping people. And it's because I love helping people, I have this deep fear that I'm just motivating people. That's why when I get on these podcasts, or if you've ever been a client of mine, one thing you know for sure is that I'm gonna give you techniques. I'm gonna give you actionable steps you can take away from that session that you can use to start to change your life. And that's because I have that fear. Now I want you to look at your fears and ask yourself, what does this fear tell me that I deeply value? By looking at that, you will see why that fear is there. Now, to get rid of that fear, as I mentioned, you have to also get rid of that value as well. And I'm not willing to get rid of my value of helping people, because if I get rid of that, yes, I will not have a fear of motivating people. I'll get up and motivate people all day. Tell them, all you gotta do is believe in yourself, right? Like, we've all heard that. But that's not who I am. And I'm not willing to get rid of that value. So what I'm trying to say is, by having a value, you will naturally have fear. And when you have a fear, you will also have values as well. You just have to look deep inside of that value to find out what it is that you deeply, deeply care about. So let's start to get more into these steps of how to overcome fear. So the first step, you need to actually allow yourself to become a learner. Allow yourself to be a failure. And that may sound crazy, that may sound weird, but by giving yourself that grace, you also give yourself the grace to take that first step. Look, I don't know anybody that's perfect. And even the people, if I did know that was perfect, I probably wouldn't believe them. And also, let's think about this. If you come across someone or even a storyline, right? Let's take it to marketing, all right? And I'm very heavy in the marketing space, so I hope you can bear with me for this. Whenever you watch a movie and you're watching that movie through the clips, normally the character in that movie goes through something really, really tough. And also that character sometimes is an outcast. By being an outcast and by going through something really tough, the audience starts to become drawn to that person because they're relatable. And it's through that challenge they actually learn and develop themselves to become the hero they need to be to accomplish the goal at the end of the day that they needed to accomplish. And that creates belief. That creates attraction as well. So what I'm trying to say is the most attractive thing is not the person that's perfect. What's the most attractive thing is the person that has failed, tried, and failed again, and now they're the successful person that we all look up to. All right. This is why I love people like Kobe, Jordan, even Stephen King. All right. If you don't know his story, or the person that wrote the Harry Potter books, right? Like their story is a story of someone who had a book, had an idea, and no one believed in it. And they took it to publisher after publisher after publisher, and it got denied and denied and denied. And then eventually they caught fire, essentially, and it became one of the biggest selling books, that being J.K. Rowling with the Harry Potter series, or even Stephen King with his first movie, his first book. So these things are actually okay. That's what I'm trying to push to you guys. Now, I want to give you guys another saying, right? And I've been giving this saying to a lot of my clients. And that's what I love about these podcasts, because I'm literally going to tell you the things that I tell my clients in therapy. So if you've never been to a therapy session, consider yourself being in a therapy session, like you've been to your first therapy session if you've been listening to my podcast. So something I've been telling my clients this week was that just like we have this saying, right? You've heard this saying, it is better to have loved and lost than to have never have loved at all. It's the same thing when we try to not fail at something, but when we try at something and we end up failing and failing until we succeed at it, right? So hear what I'm saying. I'm going to say this again. So the saying goes like this: it is better to have tried and failed than to have never have tried at all. All right. It's very similar to the saying that we know: it's better to have loved and lost than to have never have loved at all. Okay. Think about that. All right. Because I want you guys to know that by trying and failing, and then trying and failing and trying and failing, you give yourself the possibility to have your dreams unleashed. And that's what we're fighting for in this world. The second way to help you to overcome your fear of failure is redefining what success looks like for you. So starting out, you may say, I want to make a business that makes 7 figures. And that's great. I want you to keep that goal. But if you're starting out and you don't have any entrepreneurship experience, it's very important to start off by saying, hey, let me at least find a product that I know people will buy, would just simply buy, right? Even if it's for $1, right? Let's start there. And you may tell yourself, at the end of the first year, and I'm really just making this up, guys, but at the end of the first year, let me see if I can make 10% of what I make from my regular job. So if you make $50,000 a year, let's see if you can make $5,000 from this product, right? Start off small and let's start to build to what that goal is. Now, when we change the view of success, what we're not doing is changing the end goal. Never do that. Never do that. And here's another thing. Even though we're playing small, it doesn't mean that we're playing small, if that makes sense. We're just getting very focused on what we need to accomplish in the short-term future. Because for some people, they can accomplish that goal in a month, in a year, or it may take them 10 years, right? Whatever it is, we want you to be able to accomplish that goal. But to do that, we have to take action. And I don't want you to downplay what steps you're taking. I don't want you to downplay what successes you are currently having. And again, to help you to overcome that fear, I want you just to look at what success, given what you know, given where you are in your journey, given what your resources are, we have to really redefine what that success looks like. And again, that's totally okay. Because again, what I've seen a lot of people do is they'll say, "Oh man, if I try and I fail, that means I will always fail." No, failing is really just a data-driven outcome, right? Process or whatever. And by failing, it gives you an opportunity to learn from it and see, what else can I do right? What else can I work on to improve the outcomes the second time that I do it? I personally had to do this with my podcast because I've been doing this for, let's say, about 7-8 months, right? And the thing is that this podcast, it sometimes gets 1 view, 2 views, 20 views, right? Like, it doesn't always get 1,000 views, right? But right now where I'm at is I'm just trying to see what the audience or what you guys really like, what you guys really need to hear. And that's why I always tell you, comment in the section below and tell me what is it that you loved about this podcast, or what is it that you love for me to talk about. And I will craft a podcast specifically for you. So in other words, I'll be your therapist, right? But I have to be willing to do this, and I have to be able to put myself out there. So again, let's change what we see success is now so we can collect the data needed to go back to the bargaining table, go back to action to find out how can we make this thing a little bit better. And here's the third and final way to help you to overcome your fear of failure. Trust me when I say your friends, your family, and your fans, right? So the 3 F's will always be there to support you. And when they need to give you feedback, it will always come from the right place. Because here's the thing, guys, when you're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whenever you're putting yourself out there, you will always have these hecklers out there who aren't going to amount to anything, that are afraid to take the very action that they're criticizing you for. They're always going to be there to downplay you, to get on you. Because seeing someone chase their dreams, knowing that they're not brave enough to do it themselves, is killing them. And I want you guys to kill them. And that's probably the most meanest thing I'll probably ever say on this podcast. Who knows what the future may hold, but guys, trust me, we do not want the naysayers to infect us and make us become a part of their community. The naysayers are probably the people that's going to be ending up buying your product because they need it, right? So whatever it is that you're selling, whatever it is that you're providing, there's a good chance that you're going to make their lives better if you put yourself out there. So again, I need you guys to focus on the opinions, the feedback, the criticism from the right people. I don't want you guys to avoid that, okay? Because feedback is probably the most valuable thing we can get whenever we're putting ourselves out there, whenever we're taking action. And that's probably the biggest upper hand that you will always have on someone that is stuck, someone that doesn't have experience in your field. By putting yourself out there, you know exactly what the audience wants. You know exactly how to make this product better. And let me be a little bit more specific. If you go out there and you say, "Hey, I'm gonna buy this property and I'm gonna invest in it," all the pains and struggles that you go through that first time, there's a good chance you're not going to go through those a second time. You're going to know exactly what to look out for. And let's face it, man, I don't know any process that goes through without a hitch the first time. Unless you're paying or giving someone a lot of money to do it for you, right? There's going to be some bumps in the road. And there's services out there. There's do-it-yourself services, right? There's do-it-with-you services, and there's do-it-for-you services. So you can find those, right? But even with the do-it-for-you services, there's still a chance that things can have a bump or a hiccup in the road. And not every option has that, right? Like, there's no one that can do a podcast for you, right? There's no one that can get on the gym and get on the elliptical, right? The treadmill for you. Like, you have to go out there and do some things on your own, all right? But I want you guys to know that the feedback that you get, the criticism, all that stuff, you need to make sure that you're focused on the right source of it. So if you follow these 3 things, they'll definitely help you to overcome that fear of failure. So the first one is giving yourself permission to be a learner. Give yourself permission to go out there, fail, and try again. The second thing is I want you guys to change what success looks like for you right now, okay? We're not gonna change the end goal, but change what success looks like for you today. For me, right now, in the midst of this podcast, success looks like, did I post an episode this week? If I do that, that's a success, right? In the future, success may be, did this podcast get 1 million downloads, right? Did it get 1 million views, right? But as I grow and become that person, so will those definitions of success. And then the last one, as I just mentioned, make sure you're focused on the 3 F's, your fans, your friends, and your family. That feedback should be the feedback that you should be looking for. Those opinions and things like that. And even from those people, guys, make sure that it's coming from a good place. Because you do have some friends, family, and fans that may want to see you fail. So again, even that, you want to be careful and you want to really identify and analyze. Other than that, guys, trust me, that fear of failure, it will be there, but it doesn't have to control every step that you take. Because as I said, it is better to have failed and tried, or rather, it's better to have tried than fail than to have never tried at all, okay? Guys, I'll see you later. This is Coach Wells, and again, my biggest question for you, why aren't you subscribed to this podcast?